Okay, let's end with this, Ashley, and this is kind of a lingering question that many probably will have, is will it always be like this? Will these betrayal triggers always exist? Will they always be there? Do I just have to put up them the rest of my life? What's your take?
I need a good 45 minutes to talk about this.
And part two next week of
Oh my
Betrayal Trauma
No,
gosh.
but
Triggers.
Yeah.
honestly, it's like this is what I've learned working at Pure Desire and for almost 9 years now and speaking and doing normal life while doing that and having a normal husband who has normal struggles is that my job is not to help women understand, hey, you can reach this point where your life is going to be peachy keen and everything's going to be perfect and wonderful and no mistakes are going to be because that's so unrealistic. And so for the addict and the betrayed spouse, you're going to get to this point if you work. If you don't work, it's probably just going to stay there. Your brain's going to remember it. You got to do the work. And it sucks. And like Nick said, if your wife now has to go to group for 2 hours and do homework for 2 hours a week, that's 4 hours that she's all of a sudden had to squeeze into her schedule. And so that's why helping to lift the load is so important because you
Mm-hmm.
have to emphasize doing the work fully and being fully present in your healing process is so, so important so that you don't have to stay stuck here regardless of what your
Mm-hmm.
spouse chooses. And so that's where we want to get to is that you are a whole person all on your own. I mean, it's really cute, Jerry Maguire, like you complete me and all of that, but you're not somebody else's half. So when they make a mistake, you can get to the point where that does not destroy you, ruin your identity, completely flatline you from life, that you are your own whole person with gifts and abilities and purpose and can experience joy and have opportunity to give to others and care for yourself. And it can be hard to understand when you're in that early stage because, you are so closely connected. We're interdependent with our spouse. But that's what I discovered through like post-traumatic growth was just all the walls of my marriage and my identity in John coming down and God saying, you are your own person. And
Mm-hmm.
as humans, you're going to hurt each other. So now what does this look like in life going forward when you might hurt each other? And when you can get to that point of understanding we may not be perfect. Of course, we don't want these catastrophic mistakes happening again. But I told John, and I hear time and again from women, it's not as much about living a 100% perfect life. You may slip on Facebook and click on something sexual. You may relapse, but I want complete honesty as quick as possible so we can get back on course. And I think there's freedom in getting to that point because I know that John might struggle again, but I also know that it's okay. I have the tools. I'll be able to process it. I've done enough work to know it's not about me. And so even with his last little like struggle of temptation, I was able to say, what is it you need? Like I can see that you need some more self-care. And it was this whole flip of saying this is an indication that there's either some guardrails that fell off
Yeah.
or there's some self-care that needs to happen or more communication or a new avenue of work we need to do because the work you're doing is boring and repetitive. Like this is just an indication that we need to like recalibrate and come back to center.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's freeing. It's really freeing to get to that point. But I will say, if you don't do the work, you're probably never going to be free of betrayal triggers. You have to do the work.
When going back to the PTSD illustration, if I've been in a war country and come home and work through all my PTSD triggers, if I get redeployed and go back to a war zone and experience traumatic things, I'm probably going to have reawakened triggers or new triggers. And even if I have more tools to deal with it, even if I'm better able to be aware of what's going on, I was in another traumatic situation, I'm going to have new triggers to work on. And so to take that into marriage, if you are relapsing, if you are breaking boundaries and they're getting triggered, like, yeah, it is re-traumatizing. And even if you've got more tools, even if you've got growth, because you don't just start over, you can utilize some tools, but there will probably be new triggers. And so I would say to the struggling or addicted spouse, like, you have to do whatever it takes to continue growing and to avoid re-traumatizing your spouse, because it's like just, it's getting back on the roller coaster again. It's like, well, here we go again. And the goal is to stay off the roller coaster. The goal is to stay off of that ride and instead be on a better, healthier path. But that means you're going to have to keep doing the work. And so, yes, growth is possible. And I would just echo what you said, Ashley. If you're doing the work, if you're both in it together, and if you're both all in, and if you as the struggling and addicted spouse have made it one of your number one priorities to protect and create safety for your spouse. I only say number one because I think, God is our number one priority, our faith, our family. But as part of that faith being our priority, our family being our priority, it's to create a safe, healthy environment for your spouse. Mm-hmm. That should always be on our radar. And I would say to the degree we're doing that, these triggers can go away, or they can be lessened. They can get to the point they're not interfering with your day and your life. They may still pop up, but now you're aware of, here's a way we deal with that. Here's a good way to move through it. And you can quickly get back just to normal life. So that day is coming. And the way you get there is by doing the hard work of recovery and staying at it, because it will change.
Yep.